All right. Well, that is kicking it off, I guess.
Wow, it's off.
I,
I
I haven't
think
even got
it
the.
goes
I haven't
when.
even got the intro. I haven't even got any intros or anything.
Well, I know you hate the intros, so maybe it was just your subconscious being like, let's just forget it this week.
That's it. Straight into it. I'm just watching Doc with no audio on flip out, and it's kind of surreal. I can
Oh,
tell. I can just tell by his body language that he's annoyed. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. My hand is hurting. I think I slept on it weirdly last night and trapped a nerve or something, or I've been bitten by something unknown. I don't know.
But you don't. Do you see anything red on the outside of it? Like any patch
Well,
of
well, there's this
discoloration?
bone sticking out. I don't know if that's.
Oh no! My
No. It's just like one of those like nerve things. Kind of odd because I think I just must have like banged it or laid on it, and it's just trapped something. And it's
I
kind
feel
of
like a funny bone, like when you smash your funny bone, type of tingly pain.
no. It feels worse than that. It feels like
Oh
if I
no!
catch it the wrong way and touch it, like it feels like a nerve that's just got like twisted, and it's therefore it's like I don't know. It's got better throughout the day. I don't care anymore. I've had a whiskey and coke on the way back from the shops, and I'm fine now.
What?
What?
I feel so
What?
betrayed. I feel so
You
betrayed.
betrayed in what way?
Because you're partying over there, and I wish
Who's partying? One
a
can
whiskey and
of
coke is a party. It's a party in a can. Don't you know that?
no, a whiskey and a coke is a nerve-ending. Let's forget about it situation. That's what it was. Not
Listen,
a party.
I
I had
woke up
10 of
with
them. That'd be a
one
party.
eye.
You woke up with one eye. What happened to your other eye?
It decided not to show up for work today. It was like,
Oh
"No, Sam,
man.
I'm done." It's happened to me like not really this bad. Maybe this bad once or twice before, but when the conditions get really dry in the house, I have the like oil
Why
heater.
don't you take them out at night?
Oh, I hate taking them out at night because I'm
Well,
so
then
blind,
I have no pity then.
that I can't function. I should. This is the problem. They're on their last legs anyway, and I should have taken them out, like put new ones in last night for sure. I was on borrowed time with these contacts, and this morning I woke up and my eye was on fire. I couldn't like expose it to air. Like air was too much. It was
Mm.
so. It still is pretty red, but I can at least open it now. So
It was like the steam. It was like the steam price. It was delicate.
it was so delicate and so just raw and like dry and angry and irritated. I peeled my contact out, which was a horrifying feeling. And I've been in glasses mode today, which I'm so thankful to have backup glasses. Um, but I've been
Mm.
walking around with one eye closed, so everything feels a little bit like it's one dimensional.
One or a zero with you, isn't it? It's like a million mile an hour or you're walking.
And like I'm so frustrated because I wrote you last night and I was like, and I'm gonna wake up, and that's exactly the universe just knocked me on my ass because I was like, I'm gonna wake up and I'm so ahead for the week and I'm gonna
No,
meal prep and
no,
I'm
no. You
gonna.
can't preempt it like that. You
I
can't
was like
preempt it
so
like that.
excited to work, and I've been feeling really good lately. When both of my eyes work. But then, yeah, but you know what? It's also only like 12:45 for me right now, and I'm still usually doing meal prep until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So
Yeah, you crushed it.
somehow,
Crushed it every single day. It's all good. Don't worry about it. You got 2 more days. Like you're reasonably healthy. You're losing weight. You've adjusted the income things with the food prep. Like it's all good. It's all good. Like all right. So your eye doesn't work very well, but
you know what? And that's our two things is like our eyes and our hands. Like if we don't
yeah.
have those, we're like it makes me very thankful that we have them on the reg. I'm sure my eye will be fine by tomorrow, but
Don't give people tips, Bizer, please.
what? What kind of tip?
Hands and eyes. I'm very glad to have them. Yeah, me too, Bizer.
It's not a tip. It's
Let's
a
keep it that
moment of
way.
being thankful for having. Like, who cares?
I am thankful for my hands.
Listen.
Sure.
We were jacking cokes before podcasts. Solo.
Oh, I wasn't jacking Coke. I was walking from the shop and I opened a can. I wasn't jacking. It means a completely different thing, Baba.
Well,
jacking Coke.
when it's a verb.
If I was jacking Coke, we would probably have a bigger problem on our hands.
No. Listen, the alcohol consumption should be equal for when
We've been going for 5 minutes and 13 seconds. I have not been listening. So I don't know what you mean when you say listen.
I'm fine now. I gotta rely on my other senses.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So much drama in the LBC.
LBC?
I don't know where that is.
Yeah, you know me.
Yeah, so it's been an interesting few days. I will say that. Like, I feel like this week is better than last week. Last week was a bit all over the place. You had some good news last week, which we won't talk about specifically massively, but
yeah,
it was a positive time and also negative time, oddly enough, in that it was like, oh shit, we've got to do all this stuff now. But I think you jumped in at the deep end and crushed a lot of it. So it's not, you know, I'm glad I'm glad if it goes at the speed the year's been going at, to be honest.
Me too.
Especially because crypto dropped off a cliff today. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh no, I didn't see anything today, literally.
Bitcoin dropped 10% today, so it's down to 5,777.
I really thought.
Yeah, it dropped off a cliff today.
What do I know?
So I don't know.
It's
a good time to buy Steam, though. Everybody, buy Steam.
Yeah, it's a good time to buy all of it. Like, you know what? I don't care if I'm where I want to be at Christmas time / New Year's time. I'll be happy. I don't want.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You know, like, I mean,
it doesn't matter.
All money.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Yeah.
You know, all it is options at this point. So. More money, more options. But like, other than that, I'm happy. I have a feeling some client work is going to pick up. I just like, this is why I get frustrated when I don't feel like I can work at like 110% maximum efficiency quotient.
You don't get the choice. You don't get to choose that. Like, you might get a couple of like odd days where you can sprint at it, but the universe is probably looking elsewhere. Like, it's probably trying to deal with some other like situation. Like, you can't just always do 110. It's like, karma's going to come around eventually and knock at the door and be like, how's that eye doing? Boof, have it.
My God, it's so stupid because I knew it. I always can tell when my contacts are they want to tap out. They're like, excuse me.
Why would you push something like that for your eyes?
Because it was just the end of the night. I was tired. I put solution in and it felt better. So I just forgot about it. I'm awful at keeping tabs on my contacts because I never have a problem. That's the problem, is that I don't have a problem enough that
I would take them out. I would take them out every night and put like glasses on if you can't see or whatever. Especially in a room where it's heated and it's like a blown heater or something like that. Those things will dry you out. Like,
gosh,
they really do. I can't wait to get some new oil heaters so I can have that like toasty warmth. The problem is, you know, like, I keep looking around for them because I know there is new modern like element ceramic heaters that have like been tuned up, almost like having like CPU coolers. Like, their design's better, they've built better designs, and I just cannot find them. I don't know if they're like commercial or what, but I don't want to buy just an oil heater that is cheap. Like, it probably costs 10-11p an hour to run, but they use a lot of power. Like, you use like anywhere between like 750 watts and 1,000 watts just to heat oil. And then it like aerates. That's not the right word.
Aerates.
Yeah, aerates that heat from the fin design. But I've been seeing a lot of ceramic stuff that seems to be a lot better. You heat it once, and then the thermostat it's got thermostat built in, so it can just keep it. But I can't find it yet. There's one here that you'll love. Like, you know, like for you doing your yoga and stuff, and you had a specific place to go. That's now got a brand new thing in there, and I'm always like, ooh, this is real nice.
I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like, yes, the wind, like the fan blowing heaters dry you out way faster, but I feel like I need to crank the oil heater before I feel like it thaws me out. And I think that's the problem, because I have that operating at such a high temperature because I feel like I don't feel it. Whereas, like, I don't know, maybe it's just mental, but I always felt like, when like last winter when we had the little blowing heater, the little fan heater. It's like once that thing is on and pointed at you, you feel it right away and you're like, okay, I'm dying, turn it off. Whereas if you're more passive heat that's just like slowly in the room, it's bringing the whole room temperature up before you feel it, I feel like. So I
just want
winter's always rough though.
I just want a flat panel that's ceramic that has a thermostat and that can also remotely set using IFT with Alexa, so I can be like, turn the damn heating on, so I can get back and it's like set, and then I can be like throughout the night can just like come on and off. I just don't like using lots of power for something like that.
Something ambient, right?
Yeah, it's just stupid.
Yeah,
it's kind of stupid. Anyway,
yes.
Anything specifically? I know we haven't been podcasting on our usual schedule to everybody. We've had a few like either client things or real life things, admin things, paperwork things. We've just had life stuff get in the way.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, speaking of paperwork, I think I really wanted to talk about paperwork a little bit. Not really, not in depth or in specifics, but it's something we've touched on in the podcast before that I particularly have a problem with. Which, like, I wouldn't call it a fear, but I would call it
apprehension.
Yeah, I think the word like anxiety. Oh man, my notes are gone. My anxiety, I think, is really overused, but of a term. But it's something that it makes me nervous, and I get pretty worked up about because I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm taking a test in school again, and if I get something wrong or do something that they're not looking for, then I'm not going to get the outcome that I want.
I think that's your character, though. I think that's the character that you are. Like, if it's not formatted in a way that, like, I could give you a sheet of 5 things, and you would only be comfortable with those 5 things if you had the 5 rationale reasons in a format that your brain would feel comfortable that you'd been given all of the aspects of those 5 things. I think that's what it is for you, is that somebody sends you something like out of left field, you look at it and instantly, if you don't have anything, if you don't have an opinion on one of those things, or you're not quite sure of like the knock-on effect of it, like submitting that information or like, the detail, if they don't go into detail enough in a format that you're, and I have the same thing actually, but not with documentation. Like documentation, I'm pretty good. I can like step through and I can read the legalese of it because, I worked at a local authority for like 5 years.
Right.
So I know the paperwork and I know what goes out and I know where that comes from, the headspace, where it comes from sitting around like business meeting tables. I'm lucky to know that kind of stuff. So the paperwork's not a problem. My problem is like, I hate things that are dropped on me without knowing what's expected. Like I could do it a million ways. I could approach it like 10 different ways.
Right. And I feel like you slightly because it's something, if it's official, that if it's like something, if you and I are like really good at seeing where the box is and then making the choice of being like, yeah, okay, like I'll push that boundary or I'll like be a little bit creative. Like let's say on a job application, I never have that feeling on a job application, even if it's incredibly like an official one, because I just feel like maybe it's just a confidence thing. Maybe I just feel like, all right, like I know what they're asking for here. It's going to be my choice. If I slightly go outside the box, I'm going to take that risk and see if it pays off for me. If I want to, write this creatively or what to include with my portfolio, things like that. They don't get me at all. But when it's something that's official, I think you're right. Like I'm trying so hard I don't know what they really, really want. Like maybe I'm just overthinking it, but I feel like you're asking me a question, but what's the real question behind the question that you're trying to figure out, and how can I give that to you? And that's
look. I think the bottom line is, I think the bottom line is, or a line fairly near to the bottom anyway, is that there is times in your life where the interpreter in us is slightly broken for whatever reason. Either life is busy or things get in the way, but I feel like all of it is interpretation, right? And sometimes you can just be like, yeah, I'm in that tempo, I'm at that frequency, I can do that, I can fix that, I can make it work. And then there's times where it's just like, oh shit, like this paperwork, or like, it sets a chain of command off. Like you can, like, applying for a visa, and then all of a sudden, like, the paperwork starts to come in. Like, the universe is like, oh, so you like paperwork now, do you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Then you feel that,
it's like, I do feel like it comes in twos or threes.
but also feel like the more that, like, I'm thinking back and obviously when you're younger, you don't have a lot of that stuff because you're just like too stupid to know what you should be afraid of, I think, maybe, or you just don't care, or you're indifferent. But like, I feel like when I was younger and I had my life was more normal, or like more like of the expected thing for, the 9 to 5 type of a person. I didn't feel like I had anything to worry about, because and I didn't know this consciously, but I just was like, oh well, I'm just like everybody else. Like, I'm not doing anything wrong and I'm not breaking any laws, so like, of course they're gonna, of course it's not gonna be a problem. Of course they're gonna give me what I need out of this paperwork or do this thing. Like, and maybe it's coming from a place where I feel like the more I start working on my own and doing like more independent work and more independent lifestyle type of things. Like, I'm not the 9 to 5er with the mortgage and 2.5 kids. So I feel like the more I stray from that norm, the more I may be feeling, and this is me injecting my emotion into it, which is not helpful with government paperwork. Like, that's the more I'm waiting to be like squashed for it. Like, they're going to be like, this is when they're finally going to get me. Like, but it's silly because I mean, I don't know. I just maybe don't have the confidence that I need to around that type of stuff. So it's like, it's hard for me. Like, it's hard for me to feel like I want to be true to who I am and work in the way that I want to work. But I know that that's so counter and contradictory, and it's tough to explain. And so it makes me feel like I don't have confidence when I'm doing that type of stuff, which is different.
Well, all I can say is that sometimes there's no way to hack that stuff. Sometimes you have to make a mistake and be like, oh fuck, that sucks, I got it wrong, and I need to reset, and I need to go again. I need to come at it from a different perspective.
Yeah, but I will say, like, what the part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I kind of feel like, because we had a little bit of the breakthrough with the paperwork this week, it felt very similar to me after everything had been back and resolved. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, result, cool. Like, I didn't screw it up. I felt the same type of like burden lift that I feel like when I was starting to go to the dentist earlier this year, which was always something that I walked into being like extremely fearful of. I've had bad experiences, like having all of this precognizant worry about it and trying to be predictive of every single outcome. And then going through, and then it being okay, and then going through again. And like, every time you do it, like 50% of that worry comes off the top, it's just like, and my mom's a dog trainer, and she calls that like exposure therapy, where it's like, if the dog is extremely afraid of going into the car, you get him around the car, you get him near the car, maybe hang around with the door open to the car. Maybe now we just sit in the back seat with the door open. Like, it's like, any type of thing that you're afraid of, if you can just expose yourself to it in a gradual way and keep having positive outcomes, positive reinforcements to it, you start to kind of like break out, and probably in my case, like, build more confidence in terms of me being like, oh, because then that is what launched me into like the Monday that I had. Because I was like so what happened last week that I was like, all right, I'm going to get blah, blah, blah. I'm going to make this appointment. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to mail this off that I've been putting off, like all of those things that I was dreading. I just felt like, okay, cool. Like, I have this energy, or had this blessing from the universe, that this is like the window of energy that I'm feeling at the minute. Like, all right, let's just double down and get all of this stuff done. So,
right.
So I don't know. So that's interesting to me, like how a relationship,
but you
like that.
Yeah, you have to. The thing is that I think you don't do is you don't remember when you've achieved, like you've overcome a hurdle. Like I don't think you celebrate success enough. Maybe because you don't. Maybe you're onto the next thing, or maybe you're just like, oh, that's not something to celebrate, or it's just a thing, or like, oh, thank God that stress is over now. But I think you should have celebrated that thing more on Monday. Like, literally took a photo of it, like just, I don't know, a video about it, like take a mental photo in your mind, like putting that into the post office machine rather than it be a task or a chore, like a celebration thing. I don't think you celebrate progress like that enough.
Yeah.
Because if you did, then you would next time approach it and recall from last time and be like, oh, last time I did this paperwork, it was all right. Whereas I think still now, if a piece of paperwork came through tomorrow, you would instantly like be hived up, like you'd be hived anxiety of like, oh shit, another thing. Like, whereas I think if you celebrate those things and be like, yeah, well, I took care of it last time, like I'll step through again. And then after a while, you start to structure your approach to it. Or at least that's how I've always done it. Is like, like I don't like it, and I have to find another way to have a better relationship with it.
Yeah.
Paperwork or otherwise, or you can be bloody minded and be set in stone, just like, I don't enjoy this. I don't want to enjoy it. And
yeah,
then karma and the universe like decides to put their own smear on it as well.
And I don't like that. And I don't like feeling fearful. I don't like feeling like I'm not capable or I'm not competent, because like I know that I am. So that's not something I enjoy. That's something I do want to like. I don't find any comfort in it. Like, how some people have like their things that like, that they really find comfort in it more than they really want to change it. They really do want things to stay the same, even though they complain about it. Like, it's really not anything like that. It is something that I want to like, I do want to move forward. I guess I do have, I know I have a problem with like reflecting and celebrating things, because I feel like I'm like in debt, and I'm just reaching zero. So I don't feel like I accomplished anything. Do you know what I mean? Because I felt like it was like a problem and it started behind. And so now if I solve the problem, I'm at zero rather than like a 1, 2, or 3, or a 4. It doesn't occur to me as something to celebrate, which I know is like silly. And I know that behavior, that like mindset.
It's an achievement, Bizer, like working on something, like collating all those things together, like getting all that data together and being like, this is what I need to provide.
Yeah.
And like the only way that you really got that done is you used urgency energy of like, I can't mess around with this. This has got to be done and out of the way because I've got so much of the stuff on my plate. Like, up to now, I've got everything on lockdown, but this is like a curveball. So I've got to take care of this curveball. And if you think about it, you were riding the energy of celebration on getting your other paperwork. So like you were on a high. So if you think about that, like, because if you can celebrate, if you can understand and control that celebratory energy levels of like, oh, I'm happy because the universe has given me like a good sign. It's like, it's fine, Dale, you can have this paperwork, could put you through. I think you were already on a high, so you could approach it better. I think if you hadn't had your paperwork come through at that point, it would have been a big deal.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's like in Stardew Valley, like when you eat the special meal and then you have like +3 luck for the next 5 minutes. Like, that's exactly how I felt. I was like, okay, like while the universe has got this door open, let me like see if I can sneak a couple more things in here, like get this done.
Nah, you can't sneak a few things in there. Like I have the same thing with my whiskey and Coke. It just give me a +2 like nerve damage reduce.
I was going to leave it. Like I was going to be childish a couple minutes ago when you said to celebrate. And I was going to say like, oh, maybe I should have got a whiskey and Coke. But then I chose not.
But no, you didn't choose because you've come back around and done it anyway.
Because you brought it back up again. No.
All right. Yeah. No. Like it's some kind of like.
How do you celebrate? You know what? It's not, this sounds so pathetic and sad, but I'm going to like fully be honest and admit it. I don't like celebrating like when I'm 3,000 miles away from you. It's like, what's there to celebrate if I'm still over here? I know that sounds so like ultimist and so black and white, but I'm like,
How,
That's why I'm
how can
so,
you
like,
not celebrate your own? How can you not celebrate your own personal progression?
Probably because of a lot of the things that I associate with celebration are like social things that you do with
No,
other
no.
human
You
beings.
don't
So it's like
celebration isn't just an Italian word for get together and make lots of food, Pisa.
I really don't know how
Celebrate,
to chill. I don't know how to.
celebration of progress. Otherwise, you never progress. You're just like roller coaster, and it's the same track,
Yeah,
right? It's the same track. You go back around again. Oh, I remember this corner. There's a down bit here and there's an up bit here. But if you don't celebrate your adaptation to knowing what's next on the roller coaster thing, like, oh, okay, there's going to be a down here, but I've been down before, and I know all the variables of it.
yeah.
This is where your Italian side comes in, and then the German is working out how many rungs there is on the downward part, right? If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. I mean, for me, what I do is like an internalized kind of like celebration of either my ability to adapt to it, or sometimes in the positively negative like flip of that is that I will find two or three more things that I'm pissed off about it with, but at least I'll have an opinion on it rather than just be annoyed about it or frustrated about it or anxiety about it.
So
Just like,
give me
well, it's because of these.
of like
Give you an
because
example.
you have the blogs and stuff.
Yeah.
You have like a way of
Yes.
expressing that outwardly.
Yeah. Well, like I had a bunch of computer things that I needed to get resolved, and instead of like being annoyed that like, oh well, that's just the universe punishing me, or like people are this, that, and the other. It's like, no, actually, I've learned a lot of things over the years, and let's be honest, Phil, you've become apathetic, and like you haven't been on top of it, and I have been taught about certain things in security, and I did learn a bit, and while might not be fresh, I can adapt, and so celebrating your ability to adapt, for instance, having that like core thing inside of you where it's like, well, this sucks, but like let's turn it into some positives. Do you have the ability to turn it into some positives?
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you start creating negatives just because it's easier to like just get it over and done with and be annoyed about it and frustrated and down until life gets better. That's how I see a lot of people do it. But I don't. I've always got like waypoints to track back to and be like, when the last time this happened, like I can tell you the story of like last time when I had a big computer thing was like in Almere in the Netherlands in like 2007 or something, when my Windows machine was hacked by a bunch of Linux dudes on the same network. And I deserved it because I was a kid with a Windows machine at a hackers party with loads of Linux boxes, and I must have been a big joke to them. Like they were chatting, they were yeah, they were posting in my IRC chat as me to this other person I was talking to, and this other person was like, "Why did you just say that?" And I didn't even know I'd said it because I was stoned as a kite and had to scroll back up and see all these words that I hadn't written. So it's like, oh, what the fuck? So like, there's things that I've learned in my life, where it's like, you needed to be present there and you weren't. You just you kind of allowed that to go over you. And that's what life will do. Life will go over you if you are not present and correct. And you're not always going to be present and correct, but you've always got a time to be aware of it and go back to it and reestablish, mental health boundaries for yourself.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. And maybe computers have made me too logical, but I see it as a series of steps. Like I literally check in with myself. Is it health related?
Say.
Well, maybe.
I mean, I don't want to reduce you to an astrological sign.
That's all right. That's all right.
But yeah, I get that. And
I'll adapt.
Oh, baby. No, but you know what? Adaptation is interesting, like phraseology, terminology, because it's really like it's kind of the whole heart.
Okay, let me ask you a question. What is define celebration for me?
That's why I feel like we don't have the same definition of that. And so when you tell me to celebrate the fact that I got paperwork in, I'm like, what do you want me to order?
But I don't. No. That's not celebration.
What do you want me to do?
That's substance, baby. That's a different thing. No, celebration is not always like cut and dry. Like, oh, it's cake and parties and balloons. Like, it's feeling good that you've managed to put. It's being aware of what it took to get that paperwork together. It wasn't just time. It was like you defined in the moment structure. You were like, shit, I've got to get this done. So why wouldn't you stop for a moment and be like, shit, I did a good job there. God damn it. Like, I'm going to celebrate isn't sit down and just like gorge or order pizza and cake and be like, oh my God, I did such a good job with the paperwork.
Yeah.
Like, no. The Jack and Coke was a pain relief. Trust me. It was pain relief. It was pain relief. It was like, do I want a tablet? And I was like, no, I don't like that brain chemistry. If I'm gonna mess around with brain chemistry, it's gonna be from an alcoholic perspective.
All right, I can respect that. I can totally respect that. You know what I'm realizing though, as you say this, I'm somebody who's always put such value on like reflecting on things that I'm thankful for, being aware of the things I'm thankful for, grateful for. Like when I write you every day, I have my 3 things. There are things that like I talk about daily in those posts to you that I constantly always try to come back to and say that I'm thankful for and I'm grateful for. And I feel like the paperwork fit under that category, but I don't think I ever made the second jump to give myself any credit. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I always felt, I feel like I do this terrible thing where when something goes wrong, I look for how I fucked it up. But when something goes well, I'm like, just thankful that I fucking just got by. And
that's not enough. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that I don't recognize like my, how I took part in the things that are positive. I'm just like, so thankful. Thank you very much. Super happy. Like maybe it's part of some leftover stuff from growing up in like religion. You know what I mean? Of like everything you have, God gave it to you and you're a piece of trash. I mean, you know, I'm oversimplifying, but it's easy to get stuck into like good things are blessings and bad things you messed up. Which it's like, no, everything that's good is a little bit of luck and a little bit of effort. And everything that's bad is a little bit of luck and a little bit of maybe non-effort or non-self-awareness. Like it's never as black and white. And so I think that's probably why I don't ever stop to give myself credit because I'm like, onto the next thing. Because I'm just so
you can get straight onto the next. You can get straight onto the next thing. I don't take like a day off or a week off or be like dance around, you know, on a unicorn like for a week, being celebratory of like, oh my God, I'm so epic. La, da, da. Like it's not like that. Yeah. It's kind of like take a moment, like literally take a moment and be like, that turned out good. Yeah. That turned out good because like taking a little snapshot in your head is like, all right, I remember last time when I got to that, like what were the conditions of me being able to do that? Oh, well, I was healthy. I've been drinking water. I was off my coffee. Like I've been going for walks. Like I kind of keep those little subroutines so that if I do have a situation like that again, then I can run those little almost subroutine programs again and hopefully track back to achieving the same thing again.
You say you're working on a virtual machine?
Yeah. Pretty much. Like I mean, nobody can tell me different. Nobody can tell me different. Nobody can tell me different. Like I don't know if it is just an ironic expression, but like, you know, I think sometimes I do literally use computer definitions because they just make mathematical sense. Yeah. You know, like I always talk about the BS firewall of like stopping the BS going through the firewall and like putting up certain filters and rules. And if you really, really like unpack it all, everything like mathematical has got like a real world analog expression attached to it. Like I can filter the traffic. Like that means like minimize the amount of people. I can throttle, literally, I could throttle like that traffic so it comes in at a certain rate that I can deal with it. You know, that's paperwork too, Biza.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's an application of that, and that helps me. Yeah. You know, being very tech minded helps me define a real human version of it. And then at that point, you've still got emotions and stuff laid up on top of that, which can change all of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and that's why I use it. And that's why I use that's why I use the celebration element as a good waypoint. Yeah. Like, was I in a good mood? Like when I achieved that, like, did I have like, was my job good? Was I bringing in money? Like, did I feel loved? Did I Like, was I eating healthily? Was I doing exercise? And once you track all those things back, you're probably like, no wonder I'm like negative about this paperwork. It's because right now I'm not doing all these other areas in my life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean,
Yeah, man.
I mean, it's easy to feel like all happy and zen about it now, but like I really was in a state.
I know it sets you off. It sets you
Yeah.
off.
And I obviously put a lot of pressure on myself because I care about the outcome more than if it was just like, me filing paperwork for, like my car's registration or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff is just, I obviously injected emotion into it because it's an emotional situation. And it's also a way of us trying to bypass emotion. So maybe that, like, because we were trying to simplify things and make it easier this go, my body was like, well, where am I going to spend all this emotion credits now? I'm
Probably.
going to spend them later. Where do they go? Okay, better get
Yeah.
them now.
just spills out elsewhere. No, I get that. I've got that too.
Yeah.
Like I have that happen.
But
I have
like
that.
I don't want to be like one of those basic bitches who like just drops quotes on Instagram and stuff. But today, the quote that came with my little vitamin pack, I've just been thinking about it all day, and it said, "Worry is like paying interest on a debt for a bill that might never come." And I was like, "Oh no, you're right." And obviously I know like that's true, but putting it in such like mathematical terms, like you said, really was like, it makes me realize how silly it is to worry about things. And of course you're just going to worry, you're going to worry about things as part of being a human, but obsessing and not letting it go and, just letting yourself go over it and over it and over it is like, you're like yourself preparing for a situation that might not even be relevant to you. It's like such a waste of energy. And yeah, so
Well, it's a bit like it's a bit like the Matrix dichotomy, though. Like where you've got like Agent Smith and you've got Neo, and Neo's a higher up level program effectively in the system, and then you've got like an architect, and then you've got like
Oracle.
You got the Oracle who's like trying to give little advice and little additional tips. But then you've got like these rogue programs like Agent Smith going around who can like literally just duplicate itself. And in some ways, Agent Smith is like anxiety. Like, and it if you allow it, it can just copy itself and replicate and replicate and replicate. And in the same way that like Agent Smith overwhelms Neo and there's like 100 of them on top of him, it takes his compulsion to want change to escape that.
Yeah.
Like you have to have the energy of no, I want better. I want to be better than this. I want to escape this. I want to be bigger than this. And whatever way that is formed for the way you deal with it in life, you come up with that. Like there's no one size fits all for everybody. It's something that, eventually you find it. It's like finding like a little pathway in a forest that, was like been covered over, and it ends up to this amazing waterfall at the end. But like you had to clear the brush out of the way to get to it because nobody's been down there for like 5 or 10 years. Like, and it's the same for your brain. Yeah. You have to defrag that shit, man.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like anytime in nature, like, and I think honestly, what you do for computers, I do for nature. Like I always can bring things back and I can make sense of things when I think about how like the animal kingdom works, how like nature works, plants and ecosystems and things. But like anytime there's any type of a transformation, there's a massive amount of energy expenditure that goes out. And it's like, oh, well and good to be like, get enough sleep, drink enough water, like all of those base level things. But those are the foundations of having the energy to turn any of that momentum around or transform like any of the negative into a positive. It's like you become this machine that takes in one thing and outputs another thing, or, you're turning the momentum of the rudder of a ship around. It just is like a massive energy expenditure. So if you're running on empty and other things, and I think this is probably, a lot of what you were getting at with, with like with your
Mm.
previous example. But if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have that energy to give or to turn around, like then you're just stuck. You can't you can't take from a well that's dry, right?
You got to Bruce Lee it. You got to be water, my friend.
Oh man, it's so
You know,
true.
like he nailed it. And look at Bruce Lee as an example, right? When he talks about you have to be formless, I mean that's such a powerful, profound statement.
Mm,
Like be like the pot, be like the glass. You have to be formless, like water. Like water can take any shape. Like it's such a profound saying. Like people might say, oh, it's very Chinese or Japanese intent in terms of like the cosmic vibes of it. But for me, like I really understand that being a ground sign, being very much about ground. I understand how water can. It is formless.
conform.
It
Yeah.
flows. Like you have to define it. You have to define it. You have to, if you put water into a sink, there's a certain square level height to it. But at the same time, in the same way, like I love that expression of being formless.
Mm,
Like, and your brain can be like that. You can either fill it with junk or you can organize it and you can structure it. Obviously, health
yeah.
in other ways, like your body can attack that in different ways.
Mm,
But again, like computers, you can hack around it.
yeah.
I know I'm bad at certain things. I know I've got, I can be stubborn. I can be selfish. I can be all these things. And I have to like take time to be like, come on, you like this. You need to like revisit this or like
Mm,
try and be better at this.
it's so true. It's like,
And if we don't celebrate those successes when we're like, oh shit, I can't believe I just got this paperwork done. Like if we don't celebrate like, oh, I did it differently or I approached it differently or like the universe gave me a pass,
yeah.
then we never really improve. We just like step through with our like narrative and we replay that little mailbox in our head of like, oh, remember last time when you fucked this up? You know what I mean?
No, it's true because that's like kind of just leading into exactly what I was going to say is like, I don't know very much about like neurochemistry, but what I do know is that your brain is going to always take the path of least resistance. And so that a lot of that means like these patterns form, these mental patterns, because you think this way, or you have this feeling about this thing because that's just always the way, that's always the relationship you've had with it, or that's always the thought process that comes up when you think of a certain thing, or just in terms of positivity, like it's all well and good that it's like a cute thing to write 3 things that I'm thankful for every day. But I really wanted to try to do it as an experiment to see if I could change thought patterns and actually, it's like it's physical muscle memory. If if you're learning to type on a keyboard or you're learning to do a yoga pose, there's a certain point where you do it so many times that your muscle is like, oh, I got this. I know how to do it. You can have a full conversation with somebody else while doing it because your body just takes over. And I know that there have been studies that kind of prove that it's the same way with like your thought life and the things that you think about and the things that you believe, that inner dialogue that's going on in your head. If that is constantly in a negative down spiral, it just kind of keeps going that way. And it just, that like negative feedback loop just keeps reinforcing itself. So and I know that they've done like brain scans, like physical anatomical brain scans of people who have, done meditation or practice positive thinking, and the physiology of their brain actually changes, the way that your muscle would change after working out for 30 days. So, there
Right.
is, I think there's a lot more to it than just be like, slapping a sticker of it and on it and being like, be happy. It's a thing that you have to practice. Happiness
Right.
and like
Right.
activity.
You have to step through
Right,
it.
right.
You absolutely have to step through
It's
it.
just as much of like a daily practice, and it's going to be exactly like working out. It's going to suck in the beginning. It's going to be super hard. Why am I doing this? And then, over time it becomes easier and comes easier. You build on it. And maybe that was also part of like my motivation to to get more paperwork done, because I was like, all right, cool. Like, what's the next thing? Like, let's go. I want to get better at this. I want to feel better. Like, I don't know. I just felt I felt empowered by the fact that, and maybe that is my like stick form of celebration, is just doing more work afterward.
Maybe.
I don't know, but
I think you've got better. I think you've got better. I think you're dealing with it in a different way. I think maybe you don't recognize it at the time, but like I know how frustrated and stressed out and worried about visa applications and stuff, and like just the overwhelming, like there's 10 different visas, like which one do we want? When do we need it? Like how long does it last? Like if we apply for this one, can we not apply for the other one? And like we had so much misinformation. You know, like be careful which one you get, because if you get one, you won't be able to get the other. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Where do I even start with that? Like, what are you telling me? If I pick the wrong one, then I can't get over the borders again. I mean, like, there's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So, I mean, and the issue with that is it's very difficult to celebrate some of that stuff, because you know as well as I do that stuff changes all the time. There's a big caravan of people heading towards the US border in, where is it, Mexico or somewhere right now, and they're sending military to stop them. It's like, even if you got all your paperwork done, like they're probably just not going to let you in because of sheer volume. So like I don't know. I personally, maybe it's just me being like earth sign again, but I personally feel like the best way in life is to store those things internally instead of using frame of references in the I say real world, but like carrying it with you and knowing those experiences and being aware of it. You can be like, you can ascertain the situation and you can adapt to it. Like, oh, this is where I was last time, and this is what the paperwork was last time. Now all that's changed. Now I have to revisit this from a different angle. Like, I can't just like take the celebratory route that I had last time because I'd worked it all out. Now it's a whole new game.
Yeah.
But I can take stock of like the fact that I still adapted to it last time, so I'm 50%.
Right, exactly. Like if you have confidence in yourself and your ability to, even if it's different, like work around it, or like you said, adapt, then like you said, that's a lot of it. That's a lot of it. And I always feel like in terms of like being a creative and the work that I do, when I feel confident in what it is, it's whatever my output is, it's always a million times better, just because I feel like I've given myself then permission, whatever my own self, threshold for feeling like I know what I'm doing here, wherever that is. Once I hit that, then that's like when I really start enjoying it and having fun and being able to, push boundaries and push things, because I feel like I'm, like we talk about this a lot, I feel like I'm oriented. Like I feel like I've already now established where all the walls are in the room, where I am. And now I feel like I can play within that. But when I don't know where that is, I'm like, okay, like, what am I doing here? But it's government stuff. You're trying to adapt. It's not fun for anybody. It's not supposed to be fun. But I also had to just kind of work on healing the emotional relationship with it, because that's the one thing that the government isn't emotional. It doesn't give a damn about me or who I am or what my feelings are about it. So,
but you have to remember, like the sum of like the last year or last 2 years is that the things that you've learned in other areas subtly, and you might not even notice it, you've actually applied some of those in the approach to making sure you got all the numbers together, or, oh, I've got that over here in this spreadsheet, or I've got this data in this place. Like, and I think people don't realize how, like most people, I remember the conversation used to be a long time ago, oh, like, war games are bad. Like, don't let your kids play war games because they'll go around and want a gun and want to shoot people and yada, yada, yada. And like, we have millions and millions and millions and millions of people. And I'm not saying, and I'm not trying to deride the fact that we do have situations like that happen with guns, but like on the scale that people like sensationalize that had a knock-on effect. That's completely like misguided. Sure. That's completely misguided. So I think sometimes you don't realize it, but I think you've accrued quite a lot of skills and approaches and talents as far as like dealing with mitigating.
Yeah.
That's a big talent as well, is be able to be like, all right, I need all these things they've told me on the sheet. And the fact that you got it back to them within like 24, 48 hours, that does show up on the system. Like, because I know when I used to work at local authority, it's like, well, how long did they take to get back to you? Like, Did they have a set of numbers for you? It speaks volumes. It speaks that you've got some level of organization on your end. It's only, and like, it's brutal to say it, but like when somebody, like an intern has had an issue with something, and I've been in a room with a computer manager, and the computer manager's been, questioned, and this person said I did that. Those are the things that the computer manager will say. Well, when did they get it back to him? Right. Like, did they have all their information together? Like, and literally you can be judged on that. Oh, well, forget it then, send back this information, because obviously they don't know what they're doing. And then you're like another stage down, rather than, yes, I'm here, I'm willing to take care of this situation, or the information data that you want, that you don't have. Yes, the system doesn't care, but being timely about it does.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, there is a human being that's got to put a stamp on a paper, whatever it is. And if I make it easy for them to do that, it's going to be easier for me. Like, so that's, I think, part of what I always want to like have in mind, and be like, Miss Extra Gold Star and all kinds of stuff. But you're right. Like, just the effort of it being like there when it's supposed to be there. And you're completely right. The reason why I was able to do it, when I got the paperwork done this week, my only intention truly was like, let me just look at it and I'll see what I need, and like, I'll ease myself into it and get prepared. And once I started looking at it, I was like, oh wait, I have this. And like, I have the file from last year and I can adapt that for this year. I have that spreadsheet. Like, because I was organized. Like I told you years ago, I had zero form of file management, like for clients, for anything I was working on. It was just like on the desktop until I couldn't handle it anymore. And then it just got dumped in a folder. And I think that's a huge influence that you've had on me, because I realized that it's not that I don't have enough hours in the day. I don't have enough energy in the day. I run out of energy way before I run out of hours. And so if I can like have those systems set up that take a lot of that off of me, if I don't have to spend 10 minutes looking for a file, it's just there because I know where it is. That is like, I'm taking a little shortcut on my energy, a little shortcut. And when you're shaving those corners off here and there, like you can spend your energy on other things and it doesn't become like a stressful situation. So be more like a robot is basically the,
Well, for things like that, you have to be like those. The faster you can do those, the faster you can get back to life and actually enjoy living, rather than existing inside of the life, and seeing everything like on mute through a concave window.
Yeah.
I think we should wrap everything up. I think we kind of like nailed the whole paperwork thing.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel like we could put it in an envelope and mail it away.
Send it. Hey.
Came full circle. Well, seeing as we don't. Dayle, good job, girl. Just celebrate.
High fives.
Thanks.
High fives. Celebrate. High five. Celebrate that post. Yeah. She got that mail done. Yeah. No. For people who wanted to subscribe, please do that. Anchor.fm/. I don't know which one. They're positive. Yeah, positive. And then the other one we've got is anchor.fm/product sense. And we'll probably be recording that one tomorrow, which is basically me and Dayle ranting. Actually, we've changed it up. Yeah. You'll see. If you tune in or follow us, you'll see what's over there. Also, if you are on Anchor, you can listen to those podcasts at those two locations and leave us messages. And if you do that, then we'll try and play them back or listen to them or like feedback to you. I know like we've not really talked about that before, but it'd be cool if you did. It's always good to know that somebody's out there, like maybe listening in the car or whatever. I know we get about 10 to 15, 20 plays on each one of these. Like, I don't need to know who you are, but I'm always interested to know where you are. Like, are you in the car? Are you on a plane? Like, where are you? Like, what are you doing are you taking a shit? Like, I'm just interested to know, like, where you fit that in.
Positively Negative, the number one podcast of shit takers everywhere.
Yeah. Do you like taking a shit? You listen to Phil and Dayle between 1 and 2. Da, da, da. All right. I think we'll close it up there. We'll catch up with you all soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.